Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan and I'm a published author, a professional writer, and a bookworm. I have nothing to sell you on this channel. I'm just here to share my journey and hopefully you learn something new. Today we're going to have a little venting session because when I say I am tired of querying literary agents, I am so tired. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my history with querying. Maybe you'll learn some new things. And we're going to explore the current landscape of traditional publishing and discuss whether self-publishing might be a more feasible route for the vast majority of us. First, quick backstory. I have been writing books for over 10 years. I have been querying literary agents for over 10 years. The number of offers for representation that I have received is 0. Why is that so frustrating? Well, I think this would be frustrating for anyone, but let's also consider the bigger picture. I've been a professional writer and editor for about 15 years. I get paid to write and edit, and in fact, I built a 6-figure business doing it. I have won awards for my writing. My content has circulated the globe, and I've gone viral on a number of occasions. I've written for publications like Bustle and Elite Daily, and Parade, and Thrive. I have sat face to face with a literary agent who told me I am doing everything right, but she still didn't offer to represent me. I never expected this to be easy, but I was confident that I would have a literary agent by this point because I thought I had so much working in my favor. I don't say any of this to complain or whine, and I certainly don't want to come across as entitled, but I would be lying if I, said that this wasn't super frustrating. It is. So there's a little backstory. I continue to write books because I love it, and I still send out query letters, but I have pulled way back. Now, all it takes is one person to give you a chance, and you never know when that's going to happen. So I don't think that I'll ever quit querying completely, but I also started to feel like this is an uphill battle, and I cannot continue waiting for a literary agent to give me a chance for my books to see the light of day. Most query letters do not receive a response of any kind. Being ignored gets hard, it hurts. And when you do hear back, it's almost always going to be rejection. And that gets old too. It gets so old. I'm very used to this at this point, and I've grown a pretty thick skin, but I'll be honest, the rejections hurt. They're really hard. Thus, I ventured into the world of self-publishing for my book, I Think I Left the Curling Iron On. I also recorded an audio version of it, and one of my projects for the foreseeable future is marketing and promoting this book to try to get it in front of as many people as possible. Was I disappointed that this book didn't go viral and get 1 million sales? Yes, but is it better than having no one read it because I would still be querying agents if I hadn't self-published? Also yes. All right, so enough about me. Who cares? Well, let's talk about the traditional publishing industry as a whole from a higher level. I think we need to consider that much of this probably comes down to the sheer number of query letters that agents receive. It is not uncommon for agencies to get hundreds of query letters a month, and I have heard that some of the bigger agencies are getting in the thousands. That's a lot. There are so many of us competing for their attention. There are a lot of writers, and relative to how many of us there are, very few literary agents. On top of that, consider that your query letter might very well not even be making it to the agent. A lot of agents have assistants or associate agents or interns that go through query letters for them to weed out all the no's and identify the select fews that are maybes or yeses. We also need to consider that similar to how we pitch agents, agents have to pitch editors at publishing houses. If they represent you, they have to try to sell your story to an editor. So agents get rejected too. We can look at it kind of like a funnel. At the top of the funnel, you've got many thousands of people sending query letters to agents every single day all around the world. And by the time you get to the bottom of the funnel, very few of us are going to get an offer for representation. And what's really interesting is that on Twitter, or X, which I can't take that seriously, but I had an exchange with another writer and an agent. I'm going to blur out their names just in case they'd like their privacy. But the writer said, is someone going to expose why all these agents have dropped agenting so suddenly, or are we going to ignore it? The agent said, honestly, I'm not surprised when I see large numbers of agents leave. Editors are acquiring fewer and fewer titles and barely answering emails. we're not making money. Most of the time, our lives just can't sustain taking on 2 or 3 jobs, with one being agenting. I asked the agent if they know why this is the case, and they said, honestly, no. Agents haven't gotten a ton of straight answers, and it seems harder than ever for editors to get titles past the sales teams and actually acquire them. Now, of course, I'm not going to assume that this is the experience for every agent, but it did catch my attention. Then I went on a little journey with my friend Google. I searched, "Why are literary agents quitting?" and found this blog from Kristin Nelson of the Nelson Agency, who I have queried, by the way, several times. I'll put the link below if you want to read it. But this was super interesting. She gives 14 reasons why being a literary agent is so much harder now than it was 20 years ago. To give you an example, one of the reasons why it's harder is that agents are also acting more like editors. I didn't know this, but apparently, back in the day, the agent would pitch the book to the editor, and the editor would edit. But now, according to Nelson, overwhelmingly, editors want a manuscript that is darn near perfect. So they'll provide feedback and then send it back to the agent. The agent and the writer then have to pretty it up. So agents are doing more work than they used to. This stuff takes time. Nelson says that they're also doing more in the way of marketing and publicity, and whereas in the past, editors would often respond to agents in about 1 month, Nelson says that it's now commonly several months, and more often than before, agents are ignored completely. Just like writers, which sucks for them. And interestingly, I found this. This represents the number of titles published by leading book publishers per year in the United States as of 2019. So I know it's not super current, but it's better than nothing. Now, that huge number from Penguin Random House, that's made up of 70,000 digital books and 15,000 in print, and they're by far the biggest. HarperCollins published 10,000 total. These numbers sound like a lot. Maybe they are, but relative to how many of us authors are sending query letters every single day, it's probably not that much. And as we've now heard 5 years later, these numbers might be even lower. What does all of this mean? Well, it might mean that in general, agents are just making fewer offers of representation. Now, you will never hear me say, getting an agent is impossible, don't bother. I will continue bothering, but if getting your work in front of readers is important, then we have to consider self-publishing. What I'm starting to think is that maybe I'll send query letters to, 100 agents before I start to think about self-publishing. Otherwise, I will just query forever. While I do write first and foremost for myself, I'm not gonna lie, I want to sell books. I want to be a full-time author. This is what I've wanted since I was a child. You got to explore all avenues. I'm very big on attracting the things I want into my life and manifesting the things that I want. Manifesting. I know it's an overused word, I know, but that's me. I believe in the powers of the mind and manifestation. And for years, I would say, I have the perfect literary agent for me over and over and over again. I've stopped because I've realized that there's more than one way to get published, and one isn't necessarily better than the other. They both have pros and cons. If I'm able to get my books in front of people without an agent, then that's great. I care more about the outcome than how I arrived there. I have removed my obsession with getting an agent. Now, if I do happen to get an agent, I will be honest, it's going to be one of the best days of my life, but if I don't, it'll have to be okay. I'd love to know what you think of all of this, so drop me a comment, say hello, let me know your thoughts, and if you're still here, hopefully it means you like this video, so I'd love your support in growing this channel. Just give this video a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.